Well, what is up, everybody? I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson, and with me is Lance the Obscure Movie Guy, our very good friend, all the way over from Lance the Obscure Movie Guy channel. Below me, and next to me is my good pal and co-host Chris Anonymous, and we are talking about the final installment so far of the Silent Night, Deadly Night series, simply titled Silent Night. Very, very respectable title.
Although it'd be more accurate to call it Deadly Night.
Yeah. They missed out, didn't they?
They did.
I actually think they missed out on a lot of things with this movie.
That's one of the very many things that they've missed out on.
You know what would be a great title if they ever bring it back? Silent but Deadly Night.
Oh, yeah.
That only works if the final kill is with some sort of toxic gas.
I mean, we can work with that, buddy. It's a, yeah, we got
it. I think we need to call someone. We're writing it right now.
It's already done.
So yeah, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 6. We started watching the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, I think, our first year doing this, Chris.
Yeah, I think this is the third Christmas that we've done them.
Yeah, so way back in 1982. That's not when we started, but that's when the first film took place, and they've been releasing steadily, fairly steadily, to 2012, just to catch you up a little bit on what is going on with the Silent Night, Deadly Night series. In the first one, we have, I would say, probably a very deep psychological thriller that has to do with trauma and PTSD, where we get to see sort of the development of the psychopath, of the serial killer, and how his trauma leads him to becoming a killer Santa. The second one is that plus his younger brother Ricky, who is just insane and says great things like it's garbage day. And
Garbage day.
The third one starts with Ricky in a coma. He's now played by one of my favorites, Bill Moseley, and he has a sweet transparent brain head skull thing. That turns more into a straight up slasher. He's more kind of in the vein of Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. I think I don't remember. Is he's like following a blind girl in that, or he's like following?
Yeah, and I think does she have psychic powers in that one? Something
like that.
Yeah.
And she's maybe communicating with him in some way, and he's coming to kill her. I don't know.
Yeah, and that
it was always weird. I didn't know if like she was communicating with him like through like telepathy, or like he gained telepathy now that his brain is exposed, I guess. Like
that happens. That's a thing.
It could all really go either way. The next one, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 4, Initiation, is about
witches.
Yeah, but
of course.
I think Christmas was just an afterthought in this. It's as much a Christmas movie as Die Hard is, in that there are Christmas trees in the background. It was directed by Brian.
Die Hard is a full-blown Christmas movie. I'm not even going to have that debate with you.
With Lance.
No debate here, brother.
Show's Initiation.
Hey, get me out of the firing squad. It was directed by Brian Usna, who also directed, I'm forgetting the name of it, Social... Dang it, I forgot the name. It's a crazy movie, Socialite, something like that.
Yeah,
if you have anyone in the chat, hit me up. That's not the name, but I can't remember. Society.
It's not the name, but it's something like that.
It's just Society. And he is kind of an unsung Cronenberg of some kind.
I remember Part 3 being really cool with the body horror and the practical effects.
Yeah, so check out Brian Yuzna. His work is definitely weird. Then we get Part 5 called The Toy Maker. Most notably that it is starring Mickey Rooney, who did not like the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, and told everybody that, this is garbage. Then he went on to star in one as a sinister toy maker who makes like
Pretty much a remake of Pinocchio.
yeah, it's like an evil Pinocchio or something like that.
Pinocchio.
Now, and so, well, Chris, I think the very last thing that you mentioned way back when we did parts 4 and 5, the very last thing you mentioned was, what if the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies are basically being incepted in the mind of Ricky as he's in a coma? Because we noticed that each movie just kind of gets farther and farther away from the original movie. In the second movie, Ricky is Billy, I believe the original killer's name is.
Mm-hmm.
He's his brother, yet in the movie, we see him watching the movie of Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Right, yeah. I totally remember that whole Inception theory, because it becomes very, very meta, and then there's like subtle references and like repeat actors in different roles in the other movies.
And it shows them watching the other movies, and it gets so far abstracted that it eventually, the only tie to another movie is, I think, Clint Howard. Right, Clint Howard is in a Santa suit in part 5, I think, and that is like the only tie-in. And so then we get to part 6 here, and the movie doesn't really have anything to do with any of the other movies. Some people say it's a remake.
It's a remake, reboot. It could be part 6. I mean, any of those is a valid argument.
I mean, you could definitely see where they took some inspiration from the original two films, not necessarily the other 3 involved.
Yeah, there are.
And you're right. As the franchise progressed, it did get a little bit more. Not only did it get like the storyline get a little bit more crazy, but like it got a lot more campy too. Like the first one was like a legit good like horror movie, like Michael Myers, Friday the 13th, Freddy, some kind of along that lines. 2 was a pretty good sequel, and then 3 you just kind of get into the kind of the regular like horror tropes, campiness. It's funny, but it's bloody at the same time.
And they're just slapping the Silent Night, Deadly Night name onto it, basically.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So this movie, I mean, we're starting to get into schlock. So let me go through how much this movie made. Well, first of all, it cost $5 million. Now, I don't know what the like latter 3 movies cost to make. They're probably not as much as $5 million. This one cost $5 million. I think the second one cost $2 million or something like that. But it's because they were all like direct to video. And so like those box office numbers just aren't out there. So this one is probably the most expensive, I'm guessing, most expensive Silent Night, Deadly Night movie. It only made $130,000, a little over $130,000 at the box office.
Oh,
now I'm pretty sure that this was made to be more direct to streaming, but they just did a small theatrical run.
That way they can
my guess.
Get nominated.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that's probably what it was. Probably only a couple hundred theaters.
Yeah, just in case they thought they could pull an Oscar out of it. They made sure it went to theaters.
It's just a smart move. You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
I love Chris's deadpan delivery too. Just absolutely, that happens.
Yeah. Come on, bro.
This could potentially be the most unsuccessful Silent Night, Deadly Night film, but I hear it's growing kind of a cult following. Because I do think there are some cool ideas in this. Lance, when you watched it, you were texting me. You were like, "This is very, very bad."
It's, and I don't want to dive into the bad just yet, but for a lot of fundamental reasons, it's a bad movie. I can see where and why it would become kind of a cult classic with the types of kills and the blood and gore in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm winding up a little lukewarm on it because I can see it going either way, but we will get into that. First, depending on where you guys are listening to this, if you're watching it on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you check out Lance the Obscure Movie Guy's channel, because he is cranking out low budget independent film reviews right now. So if you want to kind of get on the pulse of that and see what's going on in the indie filmmaker space, get subscribed to his channel and check it out. If you are listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music, rate, I think that's what they do, rate and follow there. It helps get this podcast out to more and more people. The way that we do this show is we talk about the good, the bad, the schlock, what we like, what we didn't like, and then kind of some of the big ideas in the movie. That's kind of our catch-all to discuss. But this movie, because I'm a little lukewarm on it, I don't know if I liked it or didn't like it or what. We're going to do it a little bit different, and we are going to do the schlock section before the good and bad, and use that as kind of a way to wrap up this episode. But first, before we do any of that, we like to see where the people who created this movie, where they've come from, where they're going, and learn a little bit about them in a segment we call Web of Schlock. Chris, take us away.
Well, we've got the director, Stephen C. Miller. He's got several credits under his belt. And earlier this year, last year, he had Werewolves. He also did Escape Plan 2, Extraction, Under the Bed. So a lot of like action movies and horror movies. It seems like almost a 1-to-1 ratio.
Escape Plan has Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger in it.
Right. This is Escape Plan 2.
Ironically, the second one is the worst of the franchise.
Are there more?
There's 3 total. There's 1, 2, and 3. The first one does have Schwarzenegger and Stallone in it. That's actually a really good movie. 2 is pretty ho-hum, and then they kind of bring it back a little bit with the third one.
Okay.
So then the writer, Jason Rothwell, he wrote a horror movie in like 2004 called Blessed. Had kind of a Rosemary's Baby sort of story idea. Malice in Wonderland, and a Netflix movie called Polar.
Okay.
And then we have, let's go to actors. The woman who played Brenda in this movie, Ellen Wong. One of my favorite characters in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. She played Knives Chow. So shout out to that. Then we're going to Aubrey, the main character in this movie, Jamie King. We've seen her before in My Bloody Valentine that we reviewed.
Oh.
And she was also in both Sin Cities, White Chicks, and she was in Escape Plan 2.
Hey,
I'm sure there's no correlation there.
Yeah.
None. and then we're going to one of my favorite actors, Malcolm McDowell. He played the sheriff.
We got to talk
Cooper.
about that.
Yeah, he plays Sheriff Cooper. Man, this guy's got over 250 credits, so I'm just going to read like 2 or 3 of them. He was in Zombies Halloween. Rob Zombie's Halloween, Tank Girl, Time After Time, a little movie called A Clockwork Orange.
Yep.
And we actually saw him on this channel before in Class of 1999.
Who was he in Class of 1999?
I cannot remember. I saw that and I'm like, yeah, I don't remember who he was. Probably one of the teachers.
Is he one of the teachers? Is he the one that does the spanking? This like spanks the full-grown man?
Maybe. Man, we'd have to revisit it. If you want to find out, audience, listener, people, go watch our review of
if only we had something archived to where we could go back and revisit our thoughts on
we
that
can't
movie.
do that, but you can. He was
Maniac
Clown to the rescue.
Maniac Clown to the rescue. Let's get him up here. He was the principal. Thank you, Maniac.
Now, we can't mention Maniac Clown's name again for the rest of the show because we'll just go into clown territory again.
But thanks, Maniac. We appreciate it.
Yes, we can say Maniac and we can talk about it. We just can't say the whole name. So that's it for Web of Schlock, unless one of you guys want to mention one of the other actors. Lots of them.
Well, Donald Logue was in it.
Yep.
He's been in a lot of stuff. He was in Blade, Gotham.
Yeah. Blade's the one I remembered him
Grounded for Life, which is his sitcom that was on that kind of kickstarted his career, basically. So
okay, nice.
The deputy, I believe, the male deputy. I think his name, the actor's name is Brendan Farrar.
I think that's correct. Yeah.
I don't know what he's in, but I know that I think he's in a TV show, and I think he's actually like relatively famous.
Yes.
For like such a small role in this.
Yes.
I don't know who he is. I wouldn't know him if I met him in the street.
I'm just thinking to myself, so famous you don't know who he is. Good job.
So famous.
There were some actors in this schlocky movie that I know I've seen in other movies.
Well, he's no Malcolm McDowell. I mean, come on.
No one is after the performance of Sheriff Cooper.
He must have owed somebody some money for this one.
And he must have had like total carte blanche and like, you just perform this any way you want, buddy.
Oh man. Well, if that's all you have for Web of Schlock, let's get into the Schlock and talk about Malcolm McDowell. Because yeah, he was all over the place. Like, I couldn't tell, is this guy supposed to be the comic relief? Is he supposed to be like the serious but sweet guy? Like he's hard on the outside, but he's actually a good dude. Is he just supposed to be a straight up asshole? Like, what is his deal?
And I don't think the script knew what his deal was, and I think he realized that. So I think he just read the lines whatever way he felt in each individual scene, because it is all over the board, and it's hilarious.
And not only that, like Chris brings up a good point. Like, he just read the lines, and the lines themselves are just, for the most part, just generic cop talk. That's like, that could have been just written in a script, just generic cop talk, and he just made up the lines as he went, because he just really should be part of the bad part. He was pretty bad. He was pretty terrible.
Yeah, but he was so terrible that it was one of my favorite parts.
I mean, it was comical because I love it when he's trying to be serious, and like, he doesn't like try to drop his accent. He doesn't look like a cop. I'm not believing him as a sheriff, but he's like trying so hard to deliver these lines, and I'm just like, okay, I'll go for the ride with you, buddy. Let's see where this goes.
You didn't believe he was a small town cop, like in the Midwest or Wisconsin? Is that where they were?
I think they were in Wisconsin. Yeah, they were in Wisconsin. Yeah, because that was an homage to the first movie.
Yeah.
Are we sure about that?
According to the factoids.
Yeah.
Factoids are never
so crazy. The character, to me, did not seem concerned at all that there is a maniac on the loose.
No. So much so that I thought he was the killer for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm like, it's so obvious that he's the killer. And then of course
he's a big fella. He's like complimenting himself.
He's complimenting himself, and I'm like, he just doesn't care at all. But it's not just him. What about the mother whose daughter is
oh, dude, don't even get me started. Like,
she doesn't call the cops for like 8 hours.
It's nighttime.
That's like one of my biggest things. Like in the movie, like the little girl gets killed, and it's got to be 3 p.m.
Yep.
Right.
And he like shows up like 8 o'clock at night. And I'm like, she's been dead this whole time, and we're just now getting to her. And she's like the second victim in the movie.
To be fair,
go ahead.
The mother, the daughter knocked the mother's pills out of her hands. So who knows what those pills were doing for her? Maybe she
passed out.
Passed out.
Don't get me wrong. This shitty kid had it coming to her, but like, even no matter how crappy the kid was, it's the second one to die, and I mean, they might as well have been having lunch at that time of day, and then they come back and it's like it's bedtime. It's like, oh, we're just now getting caught up.
Well, he had a lot of murders to attend to.
many murders to attend to. Very busy today. It's Christmas Eve,
So the whole town just seemed all the cops seemed really off of like, why wouldn't you call anyone in? That makes no sense. Like, the cops' logic is just, that's what makes it like, takes it out of being like what feels like a theatrical horror movie or something. It's just show B movie level of logic.
I mean, like, they don't call for backup. They don't call like the FBI or the state police or, like, I've got 5 dead bodies. Can I get a hand? No, he's going to take it on himself. Sheriff Cooper's going to bring this guy to justice.
Yeah.
And it's not like there was a murder. It's not like there was a scuffle and someone shot someone.
Right.
No, right. Exactly.
Like someone is going around town dismembering people.
Right.
And they're just like, yeah, we can handle this. There's 3 of us.
And one of them's sick and the other's traumatized and shouldn't be at work that day. And he's just like, just being so mean and berating them and then saying really funny English quips. Like,
right. And that's the other thing too. Like, dude, like, we don't understand your vernacular. Like, you're not a Wisconsin sheriff. Like, you're just
like, and so much of this could have been remedied. They could have explained why he was a transplant. Like, he was right. They could have
explained anything.
The line, all the lines could have been down. They couldn't have got out of town, right? Snow would have been really cool in this movie.
A blizzard would have helped greatly.
Right.
I'm
nobody
sure
in or out of the town. But that would ruin the whole Santa parade.
Well, and that would have been a really cool Act 3 climax. That would have, the showdown should have been at the Santa parade. They should have had hundreds of Santas trying to go through them. I mean, yeah, they have the Santa parade and they do the chase and they get them. But it feels like they set that up from the beginning of the movie, and it was such a underutilized thing.
So we were just talking before the show about how if you try to make your own movie, you'll realize how hard it is to actually make a movie. And you guys are talking about snowstorms and having a big showdown in the middle of Santa parade, and I'm sitting here thinking like I'm sure a producer is like, there is absolutely no way we can afford a snowstorm during a Santa parade.
They can afford a couple boxes of dehydrated potatoes and sprinkle them over the camera. If it worked for It's a Wonderful Life, it'll work for this.
and then they can
my God, if it worked 100 years ago, it'll work now.
Right? Practical effects, people.
Well, so you guys are getting into a question that I always have in these types of movies, and I'm like, how big is this town? How big is this town that they have so many people there that they have like all sorts of drugs and prostitution or whatever, and they have just Santas all over the place, but all they have for local law enforcement is like a sheriff and 3 deputies.
Yep.
Well, they had 4. Remember, the one guy dies in the beginning
because yeah. So that's a problem with a lot of horror movies, not just B and schlocky horror movies, but like, A-list horror movies, is that the town is small enough that it can be a small town, but big enough to have whatever in it you need. Like it's very cartoon, like
it's plot convenience.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, it's
like what you guys are saying. They could have done something to limit the scope of it. Maybe not a snowstorm. I mean, maybe. I mean, they could be like, hey, it's really stormy outside. Don't look.
If it was stormy outside, you can't show the whole town. You could have it in a 10-block radius. You could do all sorts of things.
Right.
But
they have to narrow the scope of it.
Correct. Something else that's nope, I lost my train of thought. It'll come back. Someone else jump in.
Well, so back to the Santas, and this is because of my personal experience. This is what I found to be just like the most unbelievable portion of it was why are there so many Santas? Why do we have the parent town drug kingpin? Why was he even dressed up as a Santa to begin with? And the reason I ask this is because living in small towns for a large portion of my life, there was a couple of Christmas parades that some friends and I, we got together like a little band, and we got together a flatbed trailer, and we like went into the Christmas parade and played Christmas songs, right? We played like Feliz Navidad and some jazzy or bluesy Christmas stuff. Great time. And we thought it would be really great if we had the drummer dress up like Santa. And we did that the first year. We did not do it the second year because the parade people got so many calls from angry parents that there was more than one Santa in the parade. and that confused the kids. And the parents had to explain why there's more than one Santa in the parade. So I'm looking at this like they can't get away with all these Santas. That's too many.
So if you try to understand the exquisite storyline that was presented to us with this film, the Santa parade apparently is like their biggest claim to fame in this podunk town.
Yeah.
So like they keep
That's
referencing back to like, the Santa parades in town, or is everybody going to be ready for the parade tonight? That's like their thing. That's like, I guess their one claim to fame is the Santa parade.
I thought it was the old mill or whatever shut down, which is why the drugs were there.
That's where everybody worked, but the everybody goes, the tourist attraction for the winter is the Santa parade.
There's actually a lot going on in the background of this movie.
You work hard at the mill all year so you can try and be the best Santa during the Santa parade. And that's what her dad wanted. He's like, this is my year. I'm going to be the number one Santa this year. And he was, because he was riding on top of the parade, and he points to the fake bad guy Santa who is just being a jerk to kids and has some weird monologue in the jail cell. It's just a really obvious Santa red herring.
Oh, clearly. I thought he would play a bigger role in the movie.
I thought he'd play like a role that mattered.
The bad,
her dad or Donald Logue Santa?
The Donald Logue Santa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I liked him. It just had nothing to do with the plot except for a red herring, but you already had enough.
Right.
Well, they already had the red herring with the drug dealer Santa.
With the drug dealer, which was also super strange. Yeah. Okay, so I thought of the thing I was going to say with your Santa thing, brought it up. So something that came back from the original, and it kind of ran through the first couple movies, was that he killed naughty people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If he caught you sinning, if he caught you doing something bad, that's when he killed you. And that's what happens in this film. But it still feels arbitrary. It feels like there were 1,000 more people living in this town who were doing things that this crazy Santa would justify killing you for. So why them? Why these people? Except for the fact that we showed them on screen.
Well, I think
and the counterpoint to that is you look at it from like the original movie where he was like, if you're naughty, if you're on the naughty list, you're going to get hacked, or if you're sinning, you're going to get hacked. And this one, it's a little bit of that, but then it's also a little bit of vengeance because he goes to kill her dad.
Right.
So it's like, as you said, it's arbitrary. Like who's on your list and why? Like and you killed the small child. Like I said, it's a shitty kid, but
right. But he did give the other kid a candy cane.
Yeah, well, he did give the old lady the money from the pastor.
That was one of the best parts. Just her face. Oh man, that was great.
And that I think is probably for me the biggest problem of the movie, which puts me on the cold end of the movie of like I'm not sure how much I like this. In the original, I think his killing spree is based more on he's making his way back to the orphanage, and that's kind of the ticking time bomb.
Right.
There is they got to stop him before he gets to where all these kids are.
And if he happens to see you being naughty in between point A to point B, he's going to kill you. But he's not just going on a random rampage in hopes that you might be naughty.
In this one, I can't remember who says it, but they mentioned something about how does this guy like know? How does he determine who's naughty? Meaning, like he has to have some special knowledge about these people. Say the priest. I mean, clearly the guy is a pervert.
Oh, he's a scumbag.
Yeah, total scumbag. But like, it seems that the Santa has some knowledge about people that isn't exactly front and center. Like, how does he know that the softcore porn thing is being shot there, right?
Yeah,
and that's really good, Chris, saying that like, oh, it must be the sheriff because he has like access to the sheriff's computer, right? Like he can pull up everybody's files.
Well, see, and the thing for me, and I hate to keep going back to the fucking shitty kid, but like he just randomly walked up to that house, knocked on the door, and then just
how did he know?
Yeah, like how did he know she was being crappy? How did he know?
Supernatural element to it.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's unexplained.
So here's what I think here's what I think happened and what it is and how the movie dropped the ball, because it could have been a really cool thing. The story, you have the drug dealer telling the Aubrey the story, and then you have the flashback at the very end. And so what's going on is this kid years ago saw her dad kill her Santa flamethrower dad. And so then, harkening back to the first movie, the kid witnesses the trauma and then becomes the Santa. But what's different is that the urban legend that the drug dealer tells our main character is that he goes from town to town each year. You don't know what town it's going to be, and he cleans house, right? And so what I think he does is he arrives like 2 or 3 months early and just people watches and makes a list.
See, I like that movie.
I like that movie too.
Sounds
that's what they should
really
have had.
interesting to me.
Yeah, they should have had him like scoping people out like for a month prior, so he's seen that little girl act up when they go to the mall, right? So that's why he knows to go to her house.
The movie that they kind of reveal at the end, when it does the flashback and shows that like, oh, it wasn't an urban legend. It was her dad that shot the kid's dad, and the kid grows up to become the serial killer Santa. The problem with that is that is a more of a revenge story, which I think is fine, and I think that's probably even a good Silent Night, Deadly Night movie.
It would have worked well if they would have just gone with one or the other. It would have worked well as either or. But
if the movie reveals itself that each one of these people were tied to this person's story, yeah, that would have been great.
See, and I thought that's where they were going to go, because everybody that turned out to be a victim had a little red, gift box or whatever that was, in their presence from the Santa Claus. And I thought that would have been cool. You're on the list. Here's your, lump of coal, and then, an axe to the gut.
Yeah.
But like I said, if they'd have gone with the revenge story, or even if they'd have gone with the more like what Chris was saying, both of those capacities would have worked really well as a better storyline. But what you have here is just this weird hodgepodge of, I feel like this movie was like written by a couple of drunk fraternity guys who watched a bunch of horror movies over the weekend, and they were like, oh, we could definitely do this. And then they came up with this mess.
Lance, you say that about every movie, and generally you're correct.
And so apparently the writer had never seen, and maybe to this day has never seen any of the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies.
For the love of God, do some research if you're going to do something like this.
Well, then the director added the homages.
I think so. I think the homages were just punch ups to like, oh, we gotta tie this together somehow. But the writer based it off an actual event.
Which part?
The Covina massacre happened in 2008.
Go on.
It's basically as they describe it in the movie. This guy, he got divorced from his wife, and this is terrible. That like this is absolutely horrible that this happened in real life. Like watching the movie, I'm like, movie, it's crazy gore, it's weird, that's funny or whatever. This is real life, and this is like terrifying and awful. This guy, he goes through this divorce with his wife. She goes to a Christmas party with her family. He dresses up as a Santa and goes in. He's packing a bunch of 9mm and goes in and opens fire on her family. He created from a air compressor. He like rigged an air compressor to spray out jet fuel with the intention of igniting it, which I think it like hit a candle or something like that and ignited prematurely and burned down the place and burned him all up. He escaped, went to his brother's house. His brother wasn't home, but he went there and offed himself, and apparently left the burnt Santa suit at the house. He took the Santa suit off, left it at the house, and booby trapped it so that when the police went there, it was set I think to like cause another fire and ignite a bunch of ammunition. So this like
See, and still a better
based on
storyline
a
than
true
what we
story.
got.
Yeah. This has been Compelled by Crime, a true true crime podcast.
Compelled by crime.
Yeah.
So
wow, that's
that makes this movie substantially more interesting.
It
Again,
does.
Well, I mean,
terrible
only
tragedy.
that aspect of the movie, though, because realistically, that's really a minor part of this movie overall. Because you don't get that reveal until the end.
You
Right.
get the reveal at the end, and then you get the urban legend with the drug dealer at the bar. That's all you
Right.
get.
Like that urban legend needed to be brought in. I mean, first act. Like,
They should have sat around a campfire.
Exactly. Sit around the mistletoe.
Yep.
Right. Roasting chestnuts.
Exactly.
Yes. So there's, I don't know if it's the era that when it came out, 'cause this is 2012,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking about the movie Clown when we reviewed that, and just there was a level of darkness that like was in these horror movies around that time, and it's still there now, and it was there before. But like compared to like the 80s Silent Night, Deadly Nights. So trying to think how I want to word this. Why do I like this movie so much less than the first Silent Night, Deadly Night? And you can say that the first one's better, but they both have graphic kills. They both have a sadistic Santa. They both have weird storylines. They're very similar, right? But there's something less schlocky about this one. I mean, it's schlocky. I'm not saying it's not schlocky, but there's, and I don't know if that's a product of when it was made or just me being nostalgic for like 80s horror because it's campier because I'm not of that time. So like in 30 years from now, would someone watch this one and have the same feeling that I have for the one in the 80s?
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
You don't
so
think so?
why is that?
So for me, I think what it comes down to is this movie is like 50-50 on what it does. And that's probably more for the segment of good and bad. But realistically, the good in this movie is you have a really cool Santa costume with a really cool mask. You have really good kills, which are, for the most part, each one's unique from the last. So it's not like everybody gets hacked with a machete or everybody gets cut with a butcher knife. Every kill is unique in its own way. But on the other side of the coin, you've got this sloppy storyline, really no like character arcs. You've got bad acting because let's face it, I'm not buying Sheriff Cooper. I'm not buying Michael McDowell as a cop. And I'm sorry, Jamie King. As soon as I saw her, I was like, "There's no way she's a sheriff." And I didn't buy her as a sheriff, and I didn't buy her as a final girl. So you've got the potential for a lot of really cool stuff with these good kills, this cool Santa character, this kind of a pretty cool urban legend type thing, and then you ruin it with everything else that needs to go in between it. And that's why the old one, as campy and as schlocky as it is, it had a much better flow to it. It was a little bit more cohesive as an overall storyline than what we got with 2012. So this is more like you've got some crap mixed in with a Santa from Saul is kind of how I look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Darby?
Where I kind of go with this is that a lot of these modern slashers are, I think, a little more mean-spirited, and that like a lot of the fun is taken out of it, which sounds weird. But like when we're watching like the first Friday the 13th movies, the music scores in those sound like Looney Tunes are running around, you know. And when we start getting into more modern horror, they're just trying to be very, very serious, even though this has a lot of lightheartedness in it, or attempted lightheartedness in it, that really doesn't land a lot. But like the feet first into the wood chipper thing, like that's like a pretty intense kill, right? Like there's nothing like really fun about that.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
I mean, a other than being like, wow, that was brutal. You know what I mean? But the thing is the reason I was agreeing with you, Chris, is that when the first Silent Night, Deadly Night came out, I mean, that was a big deal. That was controversial, and people were very offended by it, by taking, you know, something sweet and innocent like Christmas and Santa and turning it into psycho killer. Even though it had been done before a few times prior, this one just got kind of the brunt of that anger. And so when it came out, it wasn't viewed as, oh, this is just harmless, campy nonsense, right? People were very upset. This, I think it's sort of the opposite. Like, I don't think anyone knew this movie came out. And
I don't think anyone
no
cared.
one's like particularly offended by it now because it's just part of everything that's out there. And it doesn't make any waves. And I don't know.
It's just interesting to me that, like, I don't know if it was just the style of filmmaking, but in the 80s and 90s, that even though it's like, you take the kill where the woman gets pushed into the antlers, right? That's in both films. In one of it, it's gory and gross in both films, but in one, it feels like part of it, and the other, I'm just like, I don't want to see this. Like, I don't, like, and so what is? I think Mean Spirited is part of it, like you talked about. But it's interesting to me that you can have literally pretty much the same scene, and in one movie I'm totally down, and in the other movie I'm like, no.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone watching or listening has any ideas of why do movies from the 80s seem so much different from now. Chime in. But I mean, I wonder if it's part of the editing styles, right? They were fighting the MPAA a little bit more back then, and so while you had like these awesome gory special effects, I think the editing, they cut away from it a lot quicker, and they do some more maybe creative ways of putting these kills together. Like in the Friday the 13th we talked about last week, we talked about, like, one of our favorite kills in the whole thing was a silhouette, right? The lightning struck, and you see the shadow of someone running, and like this spear basically goes.
See, and that's good cinematography,
right?
You know, that gets the point across without actually having to do the blood and gore. Well, and I think Mean Spirited is probably the right terminology, because I think a lot of modern horror is really trying to get the shock value, as you know, with these brutal, you know, violent kills where, like, I don't have to see the blood and guts to understand what's going on. And that silhouette kill is a perfect example.
Yeah, now we would see the spear like just go straight through, and we would see like every bit of it with zero cutaways.
So how about this, to put a bow on this bit of our conversation, and kind of best of both worlds for all three of us. What if it's about a snowball effect? What if it's kind of like a cumulative numbness? So in some of these movies from the 80s and 90s, you have one really gory kill, and it's awesome. But that's it. It's the peak. You hit it one time, right? And so you have these other kills, which are safer, I guess, are not as gory, and sometimes they're funny, sometimes they're crazy. And then you have the one that, like, it shocks you, and it shocks you in a good way because it's so much more than all the others. But in modern horror, it feels like every single kill is that peak kill from 80s and 90s. Right. And so by the time I get to the kill that I should be like the most like, wow, I'm numb to it because of the weight of every kill before it.
That's actually a perfect example. I think you're probably hitting it dead on. And I look at it like this. So you could even look at like Damien Leone's Terrifier. You know, I think the first one came out, the first one of the trilogy, we'll say, came out in like 2008. And while the overall tone of that movie it's pretty graphic and pretty gross, there is one particularly brutal kill in that film that is far worse than everything else. And it's kind of like Chris says, you're not going to be numb to that one. You know, everybody else might get their head bashed in or stabbed, but this one particular kill was very violent, you know, like, and that's, but like to Chris's point, you take a lot of these other modern movies and it's like every kill has to try and, like you said, a snowball effect. You almost have to up the game from the previous kill. You know, where does it end?
Right. And by the time, yeah, it dilutes it, right? It's less effective. The more you have ice cream in a row, the less you want ice cream and like ice cream.
Yeah.
For a couple days.
What you were saying, Chris, and I do want to talk a little bit more about Terrifier in a little bit. Well, no, just the collective numbness to it, and kind of what I was saying with the music earlier. I had to clink this around in my head a little bit. There is an idea that the characters in slasher films should be pretty unlikable. That's why, so you know, you root for them to get knocked off one by one. However, I will push back against that idea and say that, well, you need at least two likable characters, one that you got to root for to make it to the end, and one that you want to see make it to the end, but they get killed and you feel bad, right? So you are against the killer also. And I think that the 80s movies did a good job of spreading that out and doing their due diligence with those characters, no matter like how simple they were, no matter how one-dimensional they were, they at least spread it out. Whereas now I think in every kill that these new slashers have, they want every kill to be not like, this is just a fodder kill. This is supposed to make you feel something. So we're going to really get graphic with it. We're going to take our time with it. We're going to put in, you know, the sad music swell and show the emotion and the pain behind it to try and make you feel something for this. And it's that feeling that they do consistently throughout the movie that makes you just feel like, I don't, this makes it feel not fun.
Yeah, well, and it's also kind of bad storytelling, because then you take more time to develop these characters that don't matter to the actual story. Like the whole group of softcore people, by the time she goes to the wood chipper, I feel bad for her. I want her to live, but she doesn't matter to the story. But you took all this extra time to get me to care about her for a kill. And so while it was effective, that yes, by the time she gets killed, I don't want her to get killed, you know. But
and how many times can you do that?
How many times can you do that, especially to characters that don't have anything to do with the story? Now, if the police assistant, Brenda, if she were to have been killed, that would have had a lot more meaning, because she's actually involved in the story. She's still a minor character, but she's already in scenes. I already get to know her. I like her. She's a fun character. But if you have her drawn out kill, that's going to be just as effective, but it's going to be better because it actually has something to do with the story and the characters that are part of the story. As opposed
and I think in this particular movie, you know, like Chris said, we're caring about the wrong characters, and the characters that do get killed, we don't particularly care about at all. Not only do they not really matter to the story, but like most of the characters, and this is where I kind of thought he was going to go with the naughty list type thing, because each character that he kills is pretty much a scumbag in some way, shape, or form. You know, the priest is a sleazeball. You know, the drug dealer's a drug dealer. The little girl's a crappy little girl. You know, and then you've got the ones in the beginning where they were, you know, cheating and they're married and whatever, and they're cheating on their spouses and whatnot. So like they had reasons to be, but there's no good reason for me to care about any of those characters at all. No. But like he said, if Brenda, who essentially throughout the course of the movie didn't do anything wrong, she doesn't, I don't want to say she plays an integral part to the story, but she does go along with the plot because she is dispatched for the police station. Right. So if she did get killed, I've already kind of invested in her because I've already seen more of her than I'm going to see of the next victim. But they didn't go that route. They're going for these like shock value type kills, and there's no payoff to it.
Yeah, there's not. Another thing this movie did that I like to harp on a lot of remakes that they do, or just not even remakes, but updates, they homage better movies, right? And I get you have to
The
put
Silent Night,
homages in,
Deadly Night movies.
right? My favorite part of this movie is when the deputy walks out and is like, "What is this, garbage day?" I have to pause and I laugh out loud, and I'm like, yes, that is what I'm talking about. That is the moment. But then it just makes me think garbage day. And I'm like, as crappy as the second movie is, it's so much fun.
I want to go watch that one.
I want to go watch that one. And it was fun having this like car there with some heavy metal blasting, and then he leans in and gets killed. Like that was a pretty fun kill, and it has a little jump scare, but again, you're homaging, surprisingly enough, a much better movie. The grandpa scene that was integral in the first movie, right? That helped make the kid who he was in the first movie.
That whole scene was garbage in this movie.
Yeah, talk about garbage day.
Yeah.
Why does a catatonic grandpa have his wallet with money out on the table?
And keys? He's got fucking car keys sitting next to it.
Yeah, so here's my take on that scene, or what I was thinking. So first of all, that grandpa is like 55 years old. Which is fine. People can be catatonic in their 50s and can also be grandparents in their 50s. Makes sense. However, in the first movie, right, the dude looked like Santa Claus, which was I think a very important part of that whole setup.
Yeah.
But in this, so I was wondering, I'm like, okay, well, this guy's pretty young. Is he maybe the actor who played Billy or something? So I had to look him up. He's not. But I was like, why would you put somebody so young into this part unless you were going to like maybe do a cameo from one of the earlier films? I thought that would have been pretty cool.
A cameo would have been awesome. The way they set it up, he should have become one of the main characters.
Absolutely.
That is a main character setup. He could have fought the Santa. He could have lived from the Santa attack and helped Aubrey out. Like again, I'll go ahead.
Here's the thing, talking about who could possibly be the killer Santa, and we're saying like, why does he have his wallet and keys out? Mm-hmm. I got under the impression for a brief second when the nurse came in and she's like, okay, it's time for your bath. I'm like, oh, this dude's faking it. He's not catatonic. He's just
killer Santa.
He's just playing this way so that he can get baths from this nurse.
And he could have been the Santa, or he could have been somebody that was involved in the original urban legend killing.
Yep.
And now he's, oh crap, this guy's back. Santa Claus is back. I need to, not be catatonic and take him on. Both of those would have worked, really well. But it's just this random scene with a random grandpa who reminded me of the old guy from Poltergeist. You're gonna die in there, And again, he's got wallet and car keys sitting there, like he's ready to go to the grocery store, but he hasn't moved in a year.
Yeah. Ultimately, it was just a shoehorn in to connect it to
an homage to the first movie and to set up another person who does something naughty so they can be killed later, which there's no way that our main evil Santa would have known.
Exactly.
Which is wild. Why would you do
that scene? Is that the kid's a crappy kid? He steals from his grandfather. So and again, it's one of those things. Like, you're not going to cheer for him to survive. You don't care about this character.
Just I get you have to set up characters that don't matter and get killed, but it just felt like this movie did too many of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and why would you bother connecting this movie so much to the original Silent Night, Deadly Night movies if you're not even going to call it Silent Night, Deadly Night?
Yeah, I mean,
like why couldn't it just be its own thing and take out all of that?
Yeah, well, and I'm also, I think I'm somewhere in between you and Lance on how much I like or dislike this movie, but I have to shake my fist a little bit at you, Darby, because when we talked about doing this movie, you were under some false assumption that there was like a bank robbery involved.
I was under a false assumption that there was a bank robbery involved.
And man, I see a Santa with a flamethrower, and I'm thinking bank robbery, and I'm like, that is a cool movie.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I keep waiting, and about halfway through, I'm like, there's not going to be a bank.
I think I watched the trailer for it, and I just saw, because there's the flashback scene or
where
the
he's on this
folklore.
like he looks like
Yeah,
he's
it looks
outside
like
of
a bank.
Yeah.
And
And there's
I'm
a
like,
cop
oh.
showing up, and he's got a flamethrower. That was one of the coolest like visuals in the movie. I'm like,
Mhm.
where was this? This is cool. Like, there were lots of cool things in this movie and lots of good things, and they all had the potential to be a really great cheesy horror movie. Didn't happen.
Mhm. I want to get to. I want to talk about Terrifier for a second.
Sure.
Who am I talking to? Lance. Sorry, I got to look at the right screen here. Lance, you're not a fan of horror, but you are a fan of the Terrifier films, correct?
I am.
Have you
I
seen
am.
the latest one, the Christmas based one?
I have not yet, unfortunately. It is coming back to theaters on Christmas Eve, so I might try to catch it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, well, that's neither here nor there. Other than that, it takes place during Christmas. But I think that they really missed out with the killer in this movie. The idea that Santa has a sack full of weapons, and they did it really well with Art the Clown in the Terrifier movies. He carries around a like a garbage bag,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's just full of like hacksaws and
Hacksaws,
knives
hammers,
yeah.
2x4s with nails through them.
And I'm a big proponent of, to have a good slasher villain, you have to have a good location, which Christmas in general I think would suffice for the location. You have to have a cool mask, and I think they did a good job with the mask, which has kind of led me.
I
to
liked the way the Santa
thing.
looked in this. I really did.
That was one of the best parts.
And they have the axe. And that, again, that's homaging the first film, which I think is perfectly cool for that film. I just wish, like, I think the idea of a killer Santa and having that as a series is a good slasher idea, but you are absolutely missing out if you don't give him a sack full of quote unquote toys, right? Like killer toys to pull out. And he does it a little bit in this movie, but it really doesn't go anywhere. I think he pulls out the thing that he shocks the little girl with.
Yeah.
And I think that's about it.
Yeah, again, a lot of cool ideas that were slightly set up and then just went nowhere.
Yeah. So that's all I really wanted to pull out on that one. Is like, come on, guys, come on, Hollywood. If you're gonna make Killer Santa, give him a big red sack.
I mean, it's like Chris said. I mean, there were so many good setups for potential greatness with this movie, and it's every time they set something up, it just like it got swept under the rug or it got dismissed. And for me, that was part of the reason I don't like this movie a whole lot, is because a lot of it is just it's a build up and then a huge letdown. Like, oh, that went absolutely nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, oh, that's going to be cool. I wonder what they're going to do with that later. Nothing. You never see it again. Never hear about it again.
Yeah.
Does anybody have anything else for Schlock? I might have one more thing.
I got nothing else for Schlock. I've got some good and some bad, but yeah.
Okay. Well, one last thing for Schlock. This might be brought up in the good and bad. I don't know, Chris, but the music. It'll
be brought up in the good.
Okay. Well, let's just move on then to good and bad. Let's start with the good. Lance, you're our guest, so start us off on what was good about this movie.
Well, I mean, I kind of said it earlier. I mean, the Santa Claus outfit is really good. I like the mask that they used, and I want to touch on the killings. I enjoyed the killings themselves, simply because they were all different from one another. There wasn't. Yes, he has the axe, and that's his primary go-to. But I mean, the very first kill you get is almost like a scene set up from Saw, where you have this guy tied in the chair with, the Christmas lights strapped to his head, and he gets zapped, and then you find out later that the woman he was cheating with is completely dismantled.
Yeah.
But each kill was a little different than the last, and I like that aspect of it.
Mhm.
And again, the thing that was good with this was that there was a lot of potential for it to be great,
Mhm.
but on the flip side of that coin, none of it fell through. So I don't have a lot for good. I mean, really, aside from the Santa outfit and the kills themselves, for me, there's not a whole lot going for this movie.
Mhm.
There's a lot of potential, but nothing that came of fruition.
Yeah, and I absolutely have to agree with that. This movie has a ton of potential. It really could have been something. I do have to say that I do have one very solid good that I loved in this movie. The scene where they're in the guest house, and the girl is waiting on the bed for her boyfriend to come in, and he comes out of the closet or something.
Yeah.
And he's like,
What do you mean by that?
yeah.
It's not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong, but so he steps out of the bedroom, and they're like arguing, and the Santa, he's standing behind the door. The door is open. He's standing behind the door, and he slams it shut. And so the boyfriend is locked out in the hallway, and he's in the room with the girl. I thought that was not a beautiful setup, because the setup itself actually doesn't make any sense. Like, how did he get in there?
How did he know?
That doesn't make any sense. But just that shot, that moment, I thought was like this. That moment is perfect. Like that, it totally got me. Like it didn't scare me, because you can't scare me. But like, it totally took me by surprise. I did not expect that. I expected him to come from the hallway or whatever, not from behind the door. So I absolutely loved that part.
Yeah, that was a really great scene. The chunk you're talking about, you had the false scare, you thought he was in the hallway, he was surprised you behind the door, then you get the homage kill with the antlers. It was all very effective, and if the whole movie would have been like that, would have been good. What other good do you have?
The good I have is basically what Lance said. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. It could have gone somewhere, but it didn't.
So my good is very similar. The kills, the Santa looks very creepy. It's a very effective costume, like a great slasher costume. I liked the callbacks, even though I'm complaining that it's a lesser movie. I still really enjoyed those first two movies. So calling back them, I like it. I like the cast. These are really good actors. They're doing the best they can with what they have. Am I saying that
you're more forgiving than I am?
Am I saying that this is an Oscar-worthy performance on any of them? No, but it wasn't Oscar-worthy writing either. So I really like a lot of these actors, and I think they're really good. And again, low budget. You have so many takes. You have so much rehearsal. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. And then last but not least, since this is the end of the series that we did, wrapping up all 6 films thus far, my favorite thing about all the films as a whole is the first film is the music. The Christmas songs that were written for that film are amazing. Some of them are straight up really good Christmas songs. Some have this weird dark horror bent to them. That took a okay slasher film, and it knocked it up way high for me to one of my favorite slasher films because of the music. And the other films lacked all of that. This movie lacks it a lot too, but during the end credits, there's a kind of hard rock punk song about Silent Night, Deadly Night. And it was fun, and it was fitting for this style of horror, and it was a really great callback to that first film.
See, I'm going to put that in the bad, because I didn't care for the Silent Night, Deadly Night song. Like, I think the song itself was fine. I don't like it when bands like intentionally try and sound terrible. Like, if you're
struck a nerve with Chris there for a second.
If you are terrible and you're doing the best, that's fine. But if you are just clearly trying to be like, like I hate that. But also, I mean, it's actually a minor gripe. My bigger gripe of that is that if you're going to do something and you're going to like kind of call it a remake and it's going to be a Silent Night, Deadly Night, you have to have the Christmas Carol from the original movie. What's it called? Santa's Creeping?
Yes.
Santa's Watching, Santa's Creeping.
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a cherry on top for that movie. And I think that
was.
made that movie really stick out.
So
You got to use it. Or just don't even bother making the movie.
This is the problem I had with the callbacks. I agree it is not the best song for the end credits. I still really liked the song because of the homage. The Catatonic Grandpa in this movie, not that good, but I still liked it because of the homage.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally agree. The music from the first movie is crazy good, 100 times better than this end credit song. But the mere fact that they had an end credit song at all, was enough for me to think about that first movie and smile.
Yeah, and it kind of put it into the same line as the other movies, because I believe you like the end song of number 3 as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So okay, well, bad. Lance, to try and keep it short.
As I said earlier, on a fundamental level of writing a movie, this just completely missed the mark on everything. I mean, just simple, basic things. Like you go 30 minutes into this movie and nothing in this movie had been established. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't know exactly where you are in the world. You don't know exactly what day it is. You know, Bradamore, she wakes up and she doesn't want to go to work. Oh, it's my first year without John. Who the hell was that and what happened to him? Nothing is established with this movie and to why we should even remotely care about why she doesn't want to go to work, where work is, how many people are in the town. The only thing you get is it's around Christmas time and there's a Santa parade. And that's just basic knowledge and information that you need to just divulge when you're writing a movie, is to set up the whole damn thing to begin with. I mean, we can forego the acting. We've talked about how bad the acting is in some parts. We've talked about how bad the directing is. But man, just fundamentally, it's a bad movie.
Chris?
So a lot of what he said, I'm just going to have to, because of the mean-spiritedness.
Steve C. Miller is going to put us on the naughty list.
Yeah, because of the mean-spiritedness, there was a little too much gore. I like gore. You have to have it in a horror movie, but again, it's a balance. Very melodramatic acting and writing, but I think my biggest gripe is just the procedural cop part of it is just so not based on any kind of reality. There's no logic to it, and it feels like those scenes. It's kind of like in the movie The Room, where they're just toss a football back and forth. I'm like, have you ever seen someone play football? Like,
hi, Mark.
Yeah, it feels like there's scenes in really low budget movies where they are so divorced from reality, but they still have to have some semblance. So it's that token, like you just throw this football back and forth, and it has nothing to do with reality. And that's what I felt with almost all the cop scenes. Yeah, and what else was bad was that they didn't do enough of the cool stuff. Like the flamethrower came in way too late. That was cool. That should have been set up from the beginning. I really liked the axe battle, but you have this place that is raining. It's raining and all the sprinklers are going off, and yet the fire's still burning down the whole cop shop. Again, that's that whole thing of like unreality, right? Back to the room, like this is not real at all.
When it shows the Santa mask on fire, but like it isn't actually getting burnt up. It's clearly like a digital fire asset on top, like digitally placed on top of this.
Right. So if I liked this movie more, I would fight to say that represented that it was supernatural and that this character did know if you were naughty or nice. And I mean, but I'm not going to do that because it didn't earn me making crap up to defend it.
The mask burned but was not consumed, for the spirit of the Lord was in it. Yeah.
What do you
Uh,
got, Darby?
I basically agree with you guys on pretty much everything. I will have to say that my ultimate bad for the movie is the ending, with the flashback sequence where shows her dad cop killed the original Santa, and then the kids in the car, like, and the burnt guy who's the Santa from the present is looking. That was all very confusing to me.
Yep.
Yep. And that the movie had so many loose threads in it that this was the time to stick the landing and bring it all together and make your audience go, ah. And I think that they tried to do that, but it was so unsuccessful. It left me going, okay, I got to get on Wikipedia and look this up and see what's going on here.
Right.
Yeah, the whole flashback sequence, I think they were trying to go for that, aha moment, and it just fell completely flat because, one, like Chris said, the flamethrower aspect and leading up to that came in way too late. And then it's like you have this flashback. I don't want to say anything bad about the actor that portrayed that guy, but like he didn't look very menacing. Like he just looks like Deadpool's sidekick from Deadpool 2 with a silly mustache. Like,
yeah.
And I think that's another thing that's really bad about this movie is that none of the actors were convincing in any of their roles. Yeah. Jamie
that
King
little girl came off as a brat. She did a great job.
Yeah, I
but
think,
you know what?
I think she affected you, Lance. I think you did not like
So
that.
here's the thing. She did a good job acting it, but the character itself is so over the top.
And
like,
so random.
Back to that kind of The Room style of writing and acting.
Right, exactly.
Right. We want a semblance of an angry girl. We'll just have her knock pills out of her mom's hand.
Yeah, just be like the worst possible. And like the pastor, like I get he's a sleazeball, but like
so over the top, it's unbelievable.
His line delivery was so sporadic. Like you're pausing when you don't need to pause. You can't even connect syllables together correctly.
Like when he puts his shoulder on her, when he puts his hand on her shoulder, I'm like, there's no way that the whole town doesn't know that he's a total creep.
Right.
Like he's not hiding it all. So this, you brought something up. Both of you brought something up. Your biggest bad, Darby, made me think why this film is so ineffective compared to the original, and that's because they do the exact opposite. In the original, we get the total buildup of who this killer is and why he is that way, right? And so we're not necessarily agreeing with him, but we can see his side of it. We can see how it happened, and that intrigues us. And you don't need that in every slasher, but this one, we have no idea who he is, why he's doing it, what he's doing, until the very end. And so you put so much weight on that explanation, on that flashback, that if it's not the greatest thing ever written, it's gonna not work and fall flat. Right? You should have had that doled out through the whole movie, so we're piecing it together, and so we can actually understand why he's doing what he's doing, and then we hope that she learns about it, and through learning about why he's doing what he's doing, finds a way to stop him. That's solid storytelling.
100%. All right. Well, I think we've killed Silent Night 2012.
Sorry, Silent Night.
So sorry. Please don't put us on the naughty list. But
with all that said,
we gotta be honest. We can't lie.
Yeah. All that said, I still don't hate the movie.
Yeah, I would agree.
No, I hate the movie.
This is our last podcast of the year before we move into 2022. 2022. What year am I in?
Time travel.
Before we move into what year is it?
2025 is where we're going to
2025. That's right. So Lance, tell us, what do you have going on in your world? Promote yourself before we get out of here.
Man, I got everything going on. Obviously, got my YouTube channel. I got my Facebook page. But for Acrostar Films, I'm the assistant producer on Return of the Corn Zombies, which is set to come out in May as of right now from Bayview Entertainment. I'll also be assistant producer for Perfect Soul, which is also going to be an Acrostar production. And then I've got, hopefully, my voice will be in the second episode of The Red Huntress, which is a YouTube series. They just got done doing episode 1. They're filming episode 2 as of now. And got that going on. And there might be a couple other things coming down the pipeline from Indie Horror Junkie.
Nice.
And actually indiehorrorjunkie.com, it's if you guys don't know, they do a magazine every other month with the exception of Friday the 13th. They always do a bonus issue for Friday the 13th months. So this month's episode or this month's issue's actually got a spread in it for Return of the Corn Zombies and Terrifier 3. So you can go to indiehorrorjunkie.com, order it. It's $15, or you can get a $5 PDF downloaded to you as well. So
Nice.
Yeah,
Awesome, man. You are a busy man.
Trying to be, yes.
Thank you for taking time out and joining us. This is one of my favorite Christmas traditions is hanging out with both of you and talking about a schlocky movie.
Well, I certainly appreciate that. I love hanging out with you guys and doing this, and I look forward to the next one. And there's always Shark Week next summer. So,
heck yeah! All right,
Man.
I am Darby Ellis Lewis Wilson. This is Chris Anonymous. Below me is Lance the Obscure Movie Guy, and we will see you guys next year. Bye!
Happy New Year!